Hi, this is Greg Thomas, and welcome to the Welsh American Channel. Individuals of Welsh descent had a profound and significant impact on the founding principles of the American Republic. In this video, we will look at one remarkable individual known as Button Gwinnett, one of the many courageous Welsh American signers of the American Declaration of Independence. Stay tuned, because his story may be the most tragic of any of the signers. Button Gwinnett was born in 1735 in the county of Gloucestershire, England, to a Welsh father named Samuel Gwinnett, a minister of the Church of England and a curate of St. Nicholas Church, Gloucester. Button's mother, Anne, also had Welsh descent. He was named in honor of his mother's cousin, Barbara Button, who became his godmother. The family surname Gwinnett was derived from the Welsh kingdom of Gwynedd. Button was the third of his parents' 7 children, born after his older sister Anna Maria and his older brother Samuel. There are some questions regarding his exact birth date, but he was baptized in St. Catherine's Church in Gloucester on April 10, 1735. It is believed that he attended the college school held in Gloucester Cathedral, as did his older brother, but there is no surviving evidence to substantiate this. He started his young career apprenticed to his uncle, William Gwinnett, a greengrocer in Gloucester. He then moved to Wolverhampton in Staffordshire in 1754 after obtaining a further apprenticeship with John Weston Smith, an ironmonger, that is, a hardware merchant in ironware or hardware. On April 19, 1757, he married Anne Bourne, daughter of a greengrocer at St. Peter's Church, Wolverhampton, and in 1762, the couple, who had 3 daughters by then, departed Wolverhampton and emigrated to America. Gwinnett's business activities took him from Newfoundland to Jamaica. Never very successful, he moved to Savannah, Georgia in 1765 and opened a store. When that plan failed, he purchased St. Catherine's Island on credit in 1766 in order to attempt to become a planter. Though his planting activities were also unsuccessful, he did make a name for himself in local politics and was elected to the provincial assembly. After his death, the island was run as a plantation for nearly a century until the Civil War ended. Button became active in local politics, winning election to the Commons House of Assembly in 1769. By 1773, Gwinnett was again in financial straits. He sold most of his personal property and possessions and withdrew from the political scene. Button did not become a strong advocate of colonial rights until 1775, when St. John's Parish, which encircled his lands, threatened to secede from Georgia because of the colony's conservative response to the revolutionary mood of the times. He succeeded in uniting coastal and rural dissidents into a loose coalition that demonstrated its strength by electing Gwinnett commander of Georgia's Continental Battalion when the state's provincial congress met early in 1776. When his election proved controversial, Gwinnett stepped aside and accepted instead an appointment to the Continental Congress, then meeting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At this Congress, he was one of 56 signers who voted in favor of the Declaration of Independence, adopted by Congress on July 2, 1776. The primary author of this American Declaration was another Welsh American, Thomas Jefferson. We will have a separate video on this gifted Renaissance man in the future. Button Gwinnett signed the famous parchment, and his is the first signature on the left. After signing the Declaration, he was accompanied as far as Virginia by Carter Braxton, another of the signers, carrying a proposed state constitution drawn up by John Adams. During his service in the Continental Congress, Gwinnett was a candidate for a brigadier general position to lead the 1st Georgia Regiment of the Continental Army, but lost out to a man named Lachlan Mackintosh. He was a Scottish American military and political leader during the American Revolution and the early United States. The loss of the position to Mackintosh greatly alienated Gwinnett. They became bitter political and personal rivals, and the deep level of animosity would later result in Button's premature death. The two men represented opposing factions in the deeply divided Patriot movement in Georgia. When Button returned to Georgia, his allies had gained control of the Provisional Congress and succeeded in electing him as Speaker. Shortly afterward, he was elected President and Commander-in-Chief of the Committee of Safety. In essence, he became what we would call today the Governor of the state of Georgia. Gwinnett began purging the government and the military of his political rivals. One of his early targets was George Mackintosh, Lachlan's brother, who had opposed Gwinnett's election. As acting delegate of the Congress from Georgia and Commander-in-Chief of Georgia's military, Gwinnett had George arrested and charged with treason against the revolution. In addition, Gwinnett had ordered Lachlan Mackintosh to lead a poorly planned military expedition into British Florida. The operation was a disaster, and Gwinnett and Mackintosh publicly blamed each other for the failure, straining the already fragile relationship between the two men. On May 1st, 1777, Lachlan Mackintosh publicly addressed the Georgia Assembly and denounced Gwinnett in the harshest terms, calling Gwinnett, quote, a scoundrel and lying rascal, end of quote. Gwinnett set a written challenge to Mackintosh, demanding an apology or satisfaction. Mackintosh refused to apologize, and Gwinnett challenged him to a duel. According to eyewitnesses, they fought on May 16, 1777, at a plantation owned by former deposed British Royal Governor James Wright. The two men exchanged pistol shots at 12 paces, and both were wounded. A pace is about 2.5 feet, so they were approximately 30 feet apart. However, Button Gwinnett died of his wounds on May 19, 1777, and is believed to have been buried in Savannah's Colonial Park Cemetery. Mackintosh, although wounded, recovered and was not legally charged in connection with Gwinnett's death. Button Gwinnett died tragically at the age of 42 and only about 10 months after signing the Declaration of Independence. Lachlan Mackintosh would go on to live until age 80. He died in 1806. As a side note, Gwinnett's autograph is highly sought by collectors as a result of the desire by many top collectors to acquire a complete set of autographs by all 56 signers of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. There is an extreme rarity of Gwinnett's signature. There are only 51 known examples. This is because Gwinnett was fairly obscure prior to signing the Declaration and died shortly afterward. Gwinnett County, Georgia, a suburban county outside Atlanta, is named after him, and Button is one of the 3 Georgia signers of the Declaration of Independence honored with the Signers Monument, a granite obelisk in Augusta, Georgia. In spite of holding some of the highest offices in the state of Georgia, Button was known among his peers to have a short temper, hold grudges, and sometimes act with vengeance towards others. Sadly, these qualities would prove to be deadly. Perhaps a good warning for us today. Finally, a few words about the signers of the American Declaration of Independence. Never forget that these courageous individuals were signing a potential death certificate. In the eyes of the British Crown, these men were traitors who were openly rebelling against the king. They were largely the instigators of this rebellion. If captured by the British, perhaps the better-known rebels like Adams or Jefferson or Washington would have received house arrest, a public trial, and a harsh prison term. However, someone like Button Gwinnett would have most likely received a military interrogation immediately followed by hanging, like Nathan Hale. Welsh Americans like Button Gwinnett were revolutionaries because the American colonies, separated by an ocean from Britain, offered them a greater degree of freedom, opportunity, and prosperity than their ancestors were ever able to enjoy. They were willing to literally give their lives to maintain these hard-fought achievements. As Welsh American patriot Thomas Jefferson wrote in the history-changing American Declaration, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Brave individuals like Button Gwinnett gave real meaning to these words. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel or give us a like, and please feel free to make any comments below. If you would like to see more biographies of leading Welsh Americans, or if you have an individual you would like to see us showcase, let me know in the comments below. This is Greg Thomas saying Hoyland Naur, bye for now.